Hello guys, this is Steele Poliziani from Australia on the Queensland on the Gold Coast. So I'm doing my first podcast and the podcast title is Cancer. So let's get stuck straight into it. Cancer. Why is it so prevalent today? Has it always been that way? So let's have a quick dive into a little bit of facts. So obviously the cancer medical field has strongly for a long time been looking into genetics, and to a certain degree genetics unfortunately has been blamed for cancers being turned on. So if that was the case, let's look at 200-300 years ago, or even thousands of years ago. Was the case of cancer as relevant as we have it today, which is 1 in 3? So the answer to that is no. It was very unheard of, and I don't know the exact statistics of thousands of years ago, but let's say it might be 1 in a million and 1 in 10 million. So if it was genetics, why would the genetics of our body through those thousands of years, and especially these decades, as our grandparents had our parents and so forth and children, why would the genetic code be attacking us and setting out cancers to take us out on levels never seen before, when thousands of years ago it wasn't the case? So something must have changed. The answer to this is yes, the environment has changed. But to the unseen eye, it looks the same. I look outside at my place and I see a beautiful blue sky, I see green grass, I see clean air. So to the naked eye I go, everything must be fine. But it's what we can't see and the lack of knowledge that is the issue. So the 3 main areas that are causing the great rise in cancer and to other things, which I will cover in next talks, is 1, food, 2, water, and 3, unseen things, unseen chemicals that are inside our house. So let's cover the first one, food. What has changed in food? Food thousands of years ago was obviously very, very natural. People worked on their own blocks of land and so forth, and they had satisfaction of putting their hands in the soil, which also helped their health, and standing on the earth with no shoes, which shoes has been a great contribution to us not being able to heal. Little do most people know, but a lot do, and to those out there, it's great to know that you have that knowledge. Grounding, and it has picked up popularity. I'm grateful for those people who've made those podcasts and those talks. Grounding is an actual biological part of us. So as we stand on the earth without any shoes, there's a transfer of ions automatically from our feet to the ground, and the ground literally sucks all the negative ions and inflammation out of our body. And today, because we wear shoes all the time, and if we don't wear shoes, we're in our cars, and our cars have rubber, so we're constantly not being able to make contact with Mother Earth. So this is one reason. But the food part, how did it start? It started in World War One. So in World War One and in World War Two, unfortunately a lot of great brave young men and women went to fight for their countries, and when they came home, due to ailments, due to limbs missing and due to trauma, they didn't want to or could not go back to doing what they used to do. So farmers had a great pressure put upon them to grow more food for all the people who used to grow their own food. And as time went on, the governments obviously asked the farmers to start doing more, and the pressure was on them. So then, through the FDA and governments, they started making GMO, modified foods. And then you might think, well, what's wrong with modified foods? They must have done it, obviously, to what we think it's to create bigger yields. Bigger yields feeds more people, and everything's fine. But little do most people know that the genetically modified foods, the structure of them is actually made up of heavy metals and pesticides. And you might think, why the heck would our new food, including wheat and fruits and vegetables, be modified to hold heavy metals and chemicals as pesticides in it? The reason is because of the cost of demand and so much money being involved in food these days. They don't want any bugs attacking those crops, so they heavily pesticide them. And wheat, especially in Australia, wheat is sprayed just before harvest, kill all the wheat at once. Instead of by nature, crops would come at different times and they'd be ready for harvest at different times, but by spraying them with weed spray, they die all at once and they're ready for harvest. So they can withstand those chemicals, but also they're sprayed with those chemicals to bring in harvest all at once and also to keep bugs away. And they can still produce bigger yields because part of their structure is heavy metal and chemicals. And those glyphosates and those heavy metals are so heavily in our food these days that when you ingest them, it's an antibiotic. Imagine having antibiotics all the time. And as some people know and some don't, antibiotics can cause massive disruption to your stomach. It kills all good bacteria over time, where the bad bacteria dominates, and this causes all sorts of issues and inflammation, which then leads to cell breakdown. So food is a big issue these days. What else has changed? Water. And again, to the naked eye, water comes out of your tap, especially here in Australia. It looks fine, it's crystal clear. And you go, there's nothing wrong with water. But what did water used to be? Let's go back to what it once was. Once it obviously came naturally down from streams and rivers from mountains, and as it made its way down, it hit rocks. It gained past rocks and minerals, and it picked up those minerals, and the minerals were in the water, which obviously are very good for us. But as the water was collecting the sunlight, bouncing off rocks, getting aerated, the molecules in the water were holding hands under a microscope. And you might have heard of some talks, and I don't know the name of the Japanese scientist / doctor, but he did a survey, or he did tests on water and speaking terrible words to water or obscenities, and the water's molecular structure actually changed for the negative, and saying positive, it changed for the positive. But water used to be, as it came down the stream naturally by nature, it was harmonized. So the molecules, due to the process that was naturally happening in nature, they held hands. So they all started grabbing each other, one after another, just all grabbing hands, and it was harmonized. And that harmonized water went into us as we drank it. And it also went into our plants. And that caused our cells to be able to communicate on the greatest levels ever, because we're mainly made up of energy, which is hard to see underneath. Like our skin, we think, no, this is flesh, but underneath it's energy. So the cells and water are the two biggest binders. So the water today, unfortunately, has so many chemicals in it, including chlorine. Chlorine that you put in, some people put in their pools. What does chlorine do? It kills moles. So imagine drinking water, and that's just one of the chemicals, and it's killing mold inside your body all the time. But not only that, there's other heavy metals in there. There's fluoride, and the fluoride is not to strengthen your teeth, and it should never be internally taken for human beings, and causes great disruption and havoc in the body. But not only this, the water, because it's been processed, is unstructured. So to the naked eye, like everything, it looks fine, it looks clear. And you go, well, it's clear, I'm safe to drink it. But because it's been processed and all the things done to it and the chemicals compounded into it, they're no longer structured. They're in disharmony, they're in chaos. So they're chaotic. And you're drinking water that has an energy-wise chaos in it, chemicals in it. But in most countries, sewage water is now added as drinking water. And you might go, that's fine. They do everything possible. It's when it gets to our drinking water, it's 99.9% free of everything. It's not. You can run tests on your own water, and most countries have already done tests on it. And the issue, we're also not, apart from having heavy metals and chemicals in the water, is hormones. Women, due to life, take birth control. When they go to the toilet, that birth control and hormones comes out of their body. And also other people, due to neglect and so forth, put hormones and certain drugs down into the water system, and it cannot be brought out of the water. So you're getting someone else's hormones into your body. So imagine someone else's hormones, which is made for their makeup, going into your system, and your body doesn't even recognize and goes, that's not even mine, and it has to deal with all that. So that's number 2, water. Number 3 is unseen things to the eyes. And just due to time and the generations going by and us not being told and us not having the knowledge, the things we use every day are actually so full of negative and chemicals and cancerous causing compounds that it is alarming. Dishwashing liquid, toothpaste, sunscreen. Please don't use sunscreen. Use if you have to, but I'll go in other episodes of what we can use. Use zinc blockers. But we've also got shampoos, conditioners, we've got creams to help keep our skin nice and moist instead of dry. We've also got deodorants, and they've got aluminium in them. And aluminium in our body is highly toxic. But not only that, aluminium under here where's your sweat pores, and sweat is part of detox. They get blocked. That's why it's antiperspirant. But then if you can't let those natural, or the bad chemicals and perspirant naturally detoxify through your sweat pores and under your arms, it gets stuck inside you, and then the aluminium's also traveling in. And the problem with all these things, including stuff we use around the house to clean our toilets, to clean the floors, unseen things, and due to cost and demand these days, synthetic is much cheaper alternative to natural products, including synthetic tabletops. Like obviously, and a lot of us would love it, natural timber, marble. It's severely expensive, so people get synthetic. But the synthetics have got so many chemicals in them. Our flooring these days is the same. Carpets, synthetics. Synthetics have so much chemicals in them that I've seen it with my own eyes. People who already have a high asthma rate, once they get synthetic carpet brought in, especially when it's new and releasing it without you seeing it to the eye, their asthma goes off the charts. But even if you didn't have asthma, you're inside your house or it might be unit, and you're constantly breathing it in day after day. These are the same as curtains and other things, building materials, that we're constantly surrounded ourselves by through lack of knowledge and lack of understanding. The big issue with this third one, the unseen things, the body, to a certain degree, at least as it passes into our mouths, it has to be broken down by the stomach and the liver. So it's going through a detoxification process. But as you put it on our skin, and our skin is the largest organ in our body, it bypasses all of those things and goes straight into our bloodstream, and straight from the bloodstream into the mitochondria. And the mitochondria to some people is known as maybe just your thinking capabilities or your brain, but it's not just your brain. It also makes up your heart, it also makes up your stomach, and it also makes up your reproductive system. So it's bypassing everything and going straight into your bloodstream and straight into your mitochondria and just flooding it with toxins on levels we couldn't comprehend. So this is why we're seeing cancer rise on levels we've never seen before, 1 in 3. So this isn't a podcast of negativity. I do this because I love people everywhere, and I just want them to be aware of the things around them, so then through knowledge they can start arming themselves and start doing small changes. And those small changes, even if it's one a week, over months, will help the body not to be bombarded by so many chemicals constantly. And this will make a greater, healthier you. So this is why I made the podcast, and I also made it because there is always an answer and a solution to everything. And I want people to be happy, I want them to be healthy. I don't want any individual or their families or their children having cancer. And I know for a fact that understanding this is what's causing it, and then putting in the solutions will equal to a free society. And if they apply these things by this knowledge, they will be free of cancer and many other ailments. So this is what the talk was about today. I will bring in the next one what we can do about food, what we can do about water, what we can do about the unseen chemicals in our life, and how can we replace them. Are there products available? Are they easy to get? Are they super expensive? How much of a benefit do they really have? So this is what I'll be bringing. It's so nice to talk to you. My name's Steele Poliziani, and the podcast is Everything Health. See you next time, guys, and I send my love to all of you out there, and everyone. Doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter where you've come from, doesn't matter what you did in the past. You're loved, and we all need each other. Bye for now.